That land that you see in Acholi, which is very big, Acholi blood was poured in it to be what it is. And in the Constitution, I hear them quoting about law. The Constitution talks about Acholi. Because Acholi land is not just land, it is also our identity. When you trample on it because you have money, and you insult some of us, we will not keep quiet. It is wrong.
How do we resolve it, Professor?
Those who are selling land to the Balaalo, they are just merely being selfish. Wait.
Okay.
And they don't see the larger picture. Let me ask you, because of the context of the Balaalo, why were they not buying land in the 60s in Acholi? Why? In the 70s, why? Why were they not there? In the 80s, why were they not there? In the 90s, why were they not there? That they buy land now.
Population wasn't growing?
Is it about population? So ours didn't grow. You see, this thing is more fundamental than about
ours. When you say ours, what do you mean? Who's
we
us?
actually. You
So
told
it's a tribal issue.
No, I'm an Acholi. You cannot take that away from me.
So, but
Okay.
So why shouldn't I
So
talk?
you are saying that the Acholis who are selling, you, Latigo, should have authority to stop them from selling.
No.
Hey.
Didn't I say I bought land?
Okay, so why don't you want Balaalo also to buy?
Oh, why do what? Let me tell you today.
We want to hear you.
The entry of the Balaalo in Acholi, the way they are entering, is insulting to many of us. Because you enter there because somebody can no longer cultivate his land. He's talking about neighboring Andrew Adimola. In the 60s, Adimola had a groundnut combined harvester on his farm. That neighbors him. Where's the farm?
So the way they
Wait,
how
let
they
me talk.
you?
Let me talk. No, let me talk. If you went to Noya, next to the home of Ogenga Latigo, Wilson Lutara had the best red pole herd in East Africa on his farm. In my own place, we had a dairy farmer with Frisian animals. All those went with the war. When we see cattle, it reminds us of the animals that we lost, of the prosperity that we lost, of the pain that we went through. That matter has not been resolved.
So the solution is to block people from buying the land, or ask the government to stop you?
Please, let us first have, I told you the process when the president went, when the daughter had a mission, Pentecostal mission in
Maurice,
Gulu.
you have really disappointed me.
Oh yes, oh yes.
You have really disappointed me.
Don't worry.
For a great man like you.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me tell you. If, for example, today something happens to President Museveni, those people will be slaughtered, I'm telling you.
When you say to them?
No.
Okay. How?
So, until we have a foundation of acceptance of one another, of honesty, and when we see you with money, we don't become your slave of money. Until we have that, a few selfish guys will defend them and claim they sold their land. And I can guarantee you, I know the prominent families in that area who own land.
Thank you, Professor.
If you go to Acholi, you will find in some places Madupe, the Madis were there. If you go, you'll find even the father of the bishop of Arua, Anglican bishop of those days, was settled in Gulu. And every community you can talk of are there. But they are there by a simple process, a human process of assimilation. which is the same process that now you'll see people who many people assumed were Baganda beginning to talk about who they are in Buganda. Many people came to work. They became friends and relatives with the local Baganda, adapted their culture, adapted their names, acquired assets, and they became, by identity, virtually the Baganda. If the Balaalo were going to Acholi and raising their animals with the rest of the Acholis and relating to them, that process of assimilation, I can tell you, nobody would point a finger. But what is happening is a very unfortunate thing, because you have a people in northern Uganda, in Acholi, who went through the war. After the war, actually the land crisis started long before the Balaalo came. I had a professor from Oxford who came and met me. I was in my farm, and the professor, when I told him, I said, you know, people are not grabbing Acholi lands. The problem now is that young people will see no alternative in life, will pick their own, even their own parents' land, and sell it. To do what? To buy a border, to drink, maybe impress a woman. Now the consequence of that is that the society on which they should grow is crumbling. And the guy said, oh, here goes my research. Because his information was that somebody was grabbing Acholi land. We are not talking about grabbing land, because the land in Acholi is huge. It's bigger than Rwanda. But we are talking about a process where if you are interested in doing farming in Acholi, either your farming must relate to how they live, or you will find natural resistance, or you come and grow your activity in such a way that as you grow your activity, you even learn, you have friends, you have a few words that you can exchange. Now that kind of process, there would be no crisis, and that process you cannot contest it, because you will have no basis, whether morally, culturally, or legally, to contest it. But just think of it, that Acholi that used to have lots of cattle, that lost their cattle in war, and all of a sudden some guys come, and because the other guys are so poor, all these things about LCs, it doesn't change the fact that you are dealing with a community that is in poverty. There ought to have been concrete government programs. All these NUSAF were programs that in the end never had roots in Acholi. Those who, you remember this guy in Prime Minister's office, this thing is still even in jail. People just ate the money. If they had involved us, I remember the very early program when the late Agat Didi was minister for Northern Uganda. You know, because he saw that I understood it very well. We would actually go to World Bank meeting. He would leave his PS and go with me. And I was a member of parliament. So that is the problem. Secondly, if you are faced with this kind of challenges, and then you see what is happening, Mwenda will come and talk very strongly. My brother there will come and say we are association of land sellers, and we say this, and then you have a meeting, and that meeting is if you have a meeting in Kigumba and everybody else who is there looks like from one community, is that not tribal? how would we look at your meeting? Has any of those people appealed to senior citizens of our communities like us and said, look, this is a problem we are facing. How can we deal with it? But the issue is that after so many years of war that destroyed the progress, by the way, let nobody fool you. Acholis led this country on many grounds. Gureme one time wrote, and after Onyango Bo, and talked about in the Kachoke Madit in London, how many actually PhD people appeared there. People don't know that some of the earliest professors in Makerere, J.J. Oloya, first African Dean, Semei Nyanzi, and Kibaki, they were the first African lecturers. And if Acholi we are not discriminatory. Semei Nyanzi is Semei Nyanzi, but he comes from Agago with me and him. He came from Agago. But he's Semei Nyanzi. So let the idea that Acholis are tribalistic be thrown away. We are not. Nyamwe, is it Nyamwe Andao, Commissioner for Agriculture? He married from Kalongo when we were small kids, from Ankole. Rugunda's son married in Atiak. We have our own children who are married in Buganda, from Buganda, from all over. We are not, Acholis are not tribalistic. And this is not about tribalism. This is about recognizing that we have gone over the years of the NRM government, particularly coming into power. We had gone through trauma and difficulties. If you want to, if the government of Uganda, and this is where I can agree with Mwenda in blaming the president, that if we had a systematic agricultural development policy, and we'll say, actually has potential for livestock. And by the way, even when we were students, Professor Kiua taught us animal production. You do all the geographical parameters. The best place to do livestock, beef livestock in Uganda is Acholi. There's no other place in Uganda, none. So yes, the potential is there. And those guys who have gone and bought land see the potential. But how they have gone there is very insensitive and very inconsiderate. When it is like that, it becomes a matter of emotion rather than logic. And some of us have not talked much. When that matter the last time came, I was interviewed. And I said, I want to tell Salim Saleh and his brother that we Acholis have a saying that Kopti Yubo, Kopti Yadunu, meaning there are fundamental issues in the lung and in the heart. If those fundamental issues are not dealt with and brought out, no matter how good the cattle keeping of the Balaalo in Acholi may be, it will be rejected by our people. President Museveni had started a process which we urge that it should continue so that we resolve the issue of the war and the consequences of the war and create a situation of matoput.
Professor, what are these fundamental issues in the lungs and the heart, as you say? Because you mentioned assimilation, but what are these fundamental issues?
That we are how we are now because of the war. That when they were fighting in Luero, all the things that happened there, they would say about Acholi. And yet, we had Acholi commanders, Kennedy Kilama, Eric Odua, ask if anybody has a complaint against them. You don't find. And they were the commanders in Luero. My own cousin brother died in Luero. So when they even take our people to look at the skulls, how do you know that the skull you are seeing is not the skull of my brother who died there?
Okay.
So, fundamentally, let us rethink this program. Yes, the president is president of Uganda because of politics. It's not by inheritance. So if the politics demands that he should hear the objection of the Acholis in the manner by which, because these guys who are going there, if you look in the 1960s, how many of them had parents who owned livestock like they have now, or who owned vehicle like my dad had a vehicle and he had a shop, but I've never moved and taken over land anywhere because of money.
Okay.
The land in Acholi, some parts are communal, like the hunting ground, the grazing ground, like swamp. In Acholi, nobody owns swamp, traditionally. If the swamp passes near your village, the boys, the youths around that village, they can go and farm plants, sugarcane, communally. And then the grazing land was also communal, then the hunting ground was also communal. However, the other customary land belong to individuals, clan and family. You will find if you are the descendant of, like my father is James, the family of James, they have their parcel of land which they dig. Another person, maybe you are an Acholi from Kochi, you will not come and claim rights in our land because you are an Acholi and on the ground that it is customary. That doesn't work like that. If you are a Payera and you cannot go to Lamoge and say this is a customary land and I'm going to farm there, we inherit along a certain descent, a certain offspring lineage. So now, some individuals are owning that kind of land where your grandfather left for you. This kind of land, you can agree as a family and you write a family resolutions and you sell, which is acceptable in law.
Sell or lease?
Actually, even selling and leasing both, it is possible. Unless someone is going to say family resolution is not one way of allowing family land to be sold. And then also, some of this land where the Balaalos are occupying, there are Balaalos who have bought land which were already having titles. There were families that have acquired titles in the 60s. So these families have also sold land to the Balaalo. It's like they have sold the title and the Balaalos are occupying. So now, as landowners, we are saying, verification will help to know which Balaalo has defied the presidential directive, which Balaalo has complied, and then even if a Molalo is says, will he go knowing that I have really not met my standard. So the verification report will be like a report card where any exiting Balaalo would know that I am leaving Acholi land because of this.
How were you able to live amicably with them on your land that you had leased to them?
That is very, you see, when you have a tenant in your rental apartments, by the time someone is coming, you make a rental agreement and you list the condition. In my home, when you are living, you must pay in my house. In my home here, I don't want littering of the compound. In my home here, I don't want quarreling. In my home, I don't want fighting. So like for us, part of the land that we are leasing, we are doing community conservancy in that part of parcel of land. So what we have agreed with our tenant is there is no cutting of trees. That is one condition. Two, we don't want one tenant to bring another person whom we are not in agreement to graze in that land. Because one of the issues which is causing this problem, the indiscipline one, which the president talked elaborately about in the presidential directive order, is that one person acquire land then again sub-rent to another person. So the one who comes doesn't even have any connection with the real owner of the land. So those are the ones who are doing even things which are really not good.
Okay.
And for us as the landowners and livestock farmers, we have agreed that such individuals should be the first priority to be evicted.
The bottom line is this. This is a tribal campaign started by elites trying to whip up ethnic sentiments in order to gain cheap popularity. Otherwise, the people who have leased land, and that's why I like my great-grandson here, Kennedy, a very good man, because he has spoken very well. He has leased his land. There is a willing buyer and a willing seller, or a leasing leaser and a leasing leasee. You get it? Why do the politicians insert themselves in it? Now let me show you how it is tribal. I'll begin. I was taking notes on my phone, and I come to my other grandson, my Ogenga Latigo. He said that these Balaalo are not assimilating in the community. So he's saying that Balaalo who go there must first become Acholis, assimilate Acholi culture, for them to have a right. You will answer me. It is you who said they are not assimilating in the community.
You did not. I gave examples of Buganda.
Yes, but I don't think that if I go to Acholi, I should. The reason why I should settle there, or the condition, is that I should shed my Toro identity. I don't want to go when he comes to Kanyandahi and he buys a farm there, that it should be a requirement that he speaks Toro. That should be his choice. But he should not shed his Acholi identity. We are Acholis and Langis. We left these people there in Lang and Acholi. We went to Toro and we
You were the one who is our grandchild, actually.
Hold a second, I finish. We went there. We adopted the culture there. That was our choice. But we can't impose it on others. We did it willingly. My ancestors did so. I have told you. Look at my cousin Nobo Mayombe. He has a brother called Okwiri, another one called Olimi, another one called...
Your king is Oyo.
Oyo is my cousin, I should tell you. Yes. Oyo and I are cousins. You get it? So we left there. We have a right to go back. This Balaalo you see, by the way, I'm telling you the historical Acholis and Langis. You know the former acting executive director of KCC, and now he's the director of legal affairs, Frank Rusa. His grandfather was called Mukidi. Now, among us, Watoro and Banyoro, we don't have the word Langi actually. We call them Abakidi. Abakidi. Yeah. So when you hear Abakidi called Rukidi, it means the son of Bakidi. Yeah. When you see Frank Rusa's grandfather called Mukidi, it means Acholi. When they say Mukidi, Ogo Mwana Mukidi, meaning that boy is an Acholi stroke Langi, because you don't have those words. You see, so first and foremost, to defeat these people's tribal sentiments, and my grandchildren of Acholi, I tell you, for us, we're also from there. We may have adopted a different culture wherever we went. We will return there with our cows, because the cows come from there. So Muzungu came here and distorted so many things, and these elites, these ones, the current ones, now Museveni is joining them, are creating these distortions. I've told you, my wife's brothers, if you took them to Acholi, these people, unless I hear them speak, you cannot distinguish them. You can go to one and these were Tutsis, tall, dark-skinned, with a gap in their teeth, with black gum, typical Acholi. So African people are one. We are being divided by Muzungu and these elites who are adopting these Muzungu things. Museveni, I'm so saddened, has joined this. But let me explain to you the process, actually, of acquiring land, because people here are telling lies. This is the process you go through and why these things are legitimate. One, the first meeting that takes place when you go there to buy land, you meet the family or community members who own land. This meeting is attended by the family or clan members who confirm that truly they have land and is on sale. In most cases, the family will have made a written and signed family resolution to sell the land to any willing buyer. That meeting is also attended by the neighbors, so there is no encroachment. The Road Query Cultural Institution land representative and the local council leaders all attend. During this meeting, the buyer and the seller know each other. The land is stored to make the buyer appreciate it. That's step one. You see how elaborate it is. Let me come to step two. The surveying of the land. to establish a size in acres. The buyer brings the surveyor. Please let me finish.
Let him finish, Professor. I'm coming to you.
Maurice, I never interrupted you.
That process is not the issue. The issue
Please.
is that the land was acquired.
Guys.
Okay, Professor, let me come to you.
You will come, you'll have a chance.
Please, let him finish.
He asked me something to clarify.
So the buyer brings a surveyor that both parties have agreed upon. During this meeting, the price per acre and the date and mode of payment is agreed upon, and the money is that is second meeting. The third meeting, money is paid, whether in a cash or bank. It's witnessed by everybody present, including the LCs who stamp it. You get it? So it's not. That is why we do not have. I want them to bring evidence of people who say my land was stolen.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Kenneth, if there is somebody who says my land was grabbed, the grabber should be arrested, because even here in Buganda, all of us have land. Should we all be evicted than Buganda because Timothy Nyangweso grabbed the land? So if there is a person who has violated these procedures I'm putting in place, that person should be apprehended and dealt with as a criminal. But you cannot say that all Balaalo should be punished because a few Balaalo either carried a gun, which itself is not true, or for that matter, because the government of Uganda, the security services did a verification. You could find, you see, this is the problem. One person carries a gun, they say, oh, Balaalo carried guns. It's not true. There was a verification done by security services of Uganda, unless we don't believe in them, and they found that actually Balaalo don't carry guns. There may be 1 or 2, 3 or 20 Balaalo. How many Balaalo are there? Until 15,000? But I should also tell you about these people and their quarrels. Of the total land area, and General Saleh has been calling me, but I'm on TV, I can't answer him. I had called him to talk to him about this matter. General Saleh did a study there. He found these Balaalo occupy 98.5% of land in Acholi is owned, grazed, cultivated, controlled by Acholis. So the issue in dispute is actually 1.5%. Of that 1.5%, they are Balaalo, but they are also Indians. They're also Muzungu. Like in Nuoya there, they have this plantation agriculture. Let me come to another issue. My great-grandson here is called Kenneth Omona. Kenneth Omona comes from Kaberamaido. He went to Nuoya and bought 500 acres of land. Why isn't he being evicted? This Chief Justice, what is his name? Or Winyidolo. Winyidolo is also my grandson, because I'm telling you, I'm the original Ruot of the Acholi.
How big is Gaza, which is causing a problem?
He went to Nuoya.
How big is Gaza?
Or Winyidolo and bought land. Isn't he also a Mufuruki there? He should be evicted. Acholis every day, as I speak even tonight, they are buying land from fellow Acholis. But they're saying Balaalo should not buy. I mean, this is absurd. And let me tell you guys, you are joking with something, because you see, to build this country, we must create a Ugandan identity. And that Ugandan identity defend that everybody has the right to go and settle anywhere in Uganda.
What is that point that brings us together, that Ugandan identity you're talking about?
It is our common struggle as Ugandans, even as Africans. Here we live in Buganda. I'm telling you that Chinese, they're Indians, they are Eritreans, they're South Sudanese, they are Somalis, Ethiopians. They come here, they buy land. We have Tanzanians, they own land here. But this thing to say that Ugandans, I am going to buy land in Acholi, me, and then I will refuse to do something. Let me answer his question. Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
He says Acholis, we are claiming that Acholis are not tribalistic. No. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying some few Acholi elites are trying to keep a political sentiment. They themselves are not tribalists. They are strategic tribalists, because they are exploiting tribal sentiment for political gain, and that we have to resist it. Then they say how people have gone there is very insensitive. Okay, how is that insensitive? Because a Mulalo, based from, I mean, Mulalo has to be a Mulalo. You get it. You must have culture here. You live in Kampala, here you Latigo. I'm sure there are things you may do that may offend Baganda. Should Baganda evict you? Now, Omona said people complained that Balaalo carried guns. How many Balaalo carried guns? Because let's do a statistic. I'm telling you, they were less than 0.1%. Punish those who carry guns if they are carrying illegal guns. Omona was saying people just came out of camps and lost their relatives. They are vulnerable and weak. Really, this is despising the great people of Acholi. That they lack agency, they cannot make judgments for themselves. In any case, by the way, from a commercial perspective, this is very dangerous to Acholi, because if we allow an influx of people there to to compete for land, it will beat the prices of land up. My own suspicion is that these Acholi elites want to depress the price of land in Acholi by blocking other competing buyers. Then you suppress the market artificially, then the prices remain low. Because then it is them as tribal lords who will buy land from Acholi. My great-grandchildren of Acholi, please resist these politicians who are telling you that you cannot sell it to others because they are reducing. Remember that demand affects price. If there are so many people trying to buy your land, it will build up the price. Let me give you an example of where I come from. We have a lot of land on Crater Lakes. White people came, started buying places, land on. My uncle used to have a piece of land on Crater Lake, but all believed that there are ghosts around Crater Lakes. He gave it away. So white people started coming and putting resorts. Now an acre of land facing a Crater Lake is more than 200, 300 million shillings. Because Muzungu were coming and buying, then these Ugandan travel agents, the Wakesas and others, also came to buy land in Toro. Now prices have gone up. So in Acholi, for us to increase the value of land Acholi are holding, we need to increase the number of Balaalo, the number of Batoro, the number of Basamia to go there and buy. But of course, the Acholi elites want to monopolize that by depressing the prices. And please, Acholi, resist these politicians. Let me
come, Kenneth.
Now, somebody also, again, Omona said Acholi depend 90% on land, and therefore their land is going away.
Not me.
No, I quoted you said that Acholi's lives depend on agriculture and land, and this land is being taken.
As a means of production.
Yes, he's the one who said it, because I never wrote a note.
What I say, let me get it clear. Get clear. I said, you see, having come from that situation, many of them are not appreciated. That land used as a means of production is much better than when it is used as a commodity. That's actually what I said. Yes, so using land as
but how do we determine the value of something?
No, this is actually what I'm saying.
The value of something is determined by income generated from it. If you generate less income from something, you see, land in Kampala is very, hold a second.
This is a vulnerability of the people.
Honorable Minister, let me come to you.
Let's go to Kololo there. Why is land in Kololo, an acre of land, why does it go for $3 million when a square mile of land in Acholi may go for $500,000 or less? Why? Okay. These are 640 acres. It is because the income generated from Kololo is very high. So anyway, this is the point I want to make. That one, if there is a willing buyer and a willing seller, why are you, Kenneth Omona, you Latigo, saying that me, Patrick Ochaya from Acholi, I should not sell my land to the person who wants to buy it? Why do you want me to sell it to a fellow Acholi? And Museveni says this, that his father educated him because he sold his cows to butchers who were Baganda. If we had to depend on Bahima, they would have paid him a low price because every of him had cows. So why should Latigo want to monopolize the purchase of land in Acholi? Why doesn't he want Timothy Nyangos also to go there and buy? Why should Patrick Ochaya be forced to sell only to Latigo? Why?
Okay. Allow me, Honorable Minister.
and Kenneth Omona. They are the only ones who want to buy. Because Omona went from Kaberamaido, he went and bought land in Goy. Am I lying?
No. You see, I think, again, I'm saying this, really, Andrew, I wanted to spend more time. You're a very busy man. I'm going to repeat the same thing. That I think these days, you are so busy that you now get things at the real periphery. You are missing the facts, and I really felt so bad. Really, Andrew, please find time and say this properly. So let me begin from this. First of all, Andrew, stop guilt trapping the Northerners, smearing them with the guilt. That now, since you are complaining, you are crying that people are hurting you, you can't live in Uganda here. There is nowhere in Uganda here where there is a group of people described as Northerners who are hurting people. If it happens, we will act as government like we are acting, whether it is Acholi, in Rwenzori, in Iteso, in Karamoja, we will do the same thing. Government's work is to protect its citizens. When one community complains that there's something not right here, you can't begin to say that, why you complain against others? You shall also complain against you. So please stop guilt trapping Northerners. And by the way, please let me emphasize, North is beyond Acholi's. Not only Acholi's.
I'm complaining about a few Acholi's, not Acholi.
Let me answer this. Secondly, Timothy, the question which also Kennedy, the narrative, the very weak a negative narrative that Kennedy wants to drive. That all the Acholi elites want to monopolize owning land in Acholi so that others don't go there and keep them poor.
Minister,
Really?
if I may.
No, let him
finish. Let him finish.
Sorry.
I'm going to come to you.
No, ask me a
What
question.
would-
I'm going to come to you. Kennedy, Kennedy,
what
please,
would
not
leaders-
the question. Let me come to you.
What will leaders like me put in charge of that area do when the wananchi, the common people, are complaining? We talk about land. Yes, it's true. In fact, everything he said, first of all, he denied that there's nothing, but everything Kennedy said that's happening, that is happening. You find, like Andrew also said, there are areas where people come and say, no, me, I rented 10 acres, but the agreement the person wrote as 10 hectares. This is not true. There are also those testimonies. Others, you find somebody has maybe 100 acres or something like that, but the number of livestock in that place is so big that they can only logically be fed elsewhere, including water for these livestock. So before I can come to the detail,
And let me, I wanted you to respond. Let me get to Professor, then come back to you, Honorable Minister. Professor, how do we resolve this? Because there's a country at stake. There's a country we found, there's a country we'll leave and leave for our children. How do we resolve this posterity?
It is very simple. The process that is taking place is wrong.
Is wrong.
It is wrong. You know, Acholi is not North America discovered by Christopher Columbus. That you go in and chase the red Indians and settle there. And I'm so deeply offended by this guy talking about association of Acholi land owners.
Let me
No,
correct
Kennedy,
you. It is
let him
not-
finish.
I did
Acholi
not-
land owners. It is Jowa lives. Let me answer
Please,
you.
Kennedy,
There is no-
Kennedy,
it is
Kennedy,
Jowa
please,
Land
let me
Owners
talk.
and
Kennedy,
Livestock Farmers
please,
Association. I did
please,
not mention
Kennedy,
Acholi.
please.
Kennedy.
No, he also denied something. I need
Hold
to
on,
put
you're
it
going to
right.
get your
Yeah, I
opportunity.
need to
Just
put
take
it
note
right
of
at-
it. Let's take note of it and
Yeah, I
come.
need to put it right at that
because
point.
Professor, please proceed.
Because these are the fraudsters.
I didn't mention Acholi.
Kennedy.
These are the fraudsters
Actually,
that
you should
will
withdraw
cause.
it.
Just
You should
hold on.
withdraw it.
You're going to have an opportunity.
Acholi Land Owners
You're going to have an
Association.
opportunity. Yes.
Listen, these are the fraudsters that cause unnecessary problem. When there's an issue, there are systematic ways of resolving them.
that's right.
I can tell you, I bought land. I farmed in Nwea.
Yes.
I bought land.
Did you buy customary land or communal land?
Please,
Kennedy,
please,
let him
Yeah,
finish.
it will guide
Yes.
us.
Please.
I'll give you the opportunity to respond.
please.
Mm.
I bought
Professor,
land
please.
during the war. I started farming when the war was still there. And people were stuck in camps. You know what I used to do? I would carry, when I'm going, I would buy meat in Kiriandongo, I would buy beans and take people there to cultivate. I would buy sweets for the children. I would pay them 5,000 shillings. And what I did was, if you gave people brand new notes, they don't drink it. So I'd go to, my wife was working in the Bank of Uganda, so when I'm going there, I get brand new money. They don't drink it. And they used to call 5,000 shillings in Porongogen. If I go there now, they will embrace me because I was part of the community. What I was doing was part of the community. This cattle keeping, the way it is being done in isolation of the immediate community, is not part of the community. And in Acholi, those days, whether you had cattle or not, in the dry seasons, the Koromojongs would raid cattle. And we have a shout, Telemete. Once you hear Telemete, you don't ask what is happening, you just pick your spears and run where that issue is. And when it is the Koromojongs, they have taken cattle, you'll follow them and recover the cattle. If it was some small community that invaded, you'd fight and chase them away. That land that you see in Acholi, which is very big, Acholi blood was poured in it to be what it is. And in the constitution, I hear them quoting about law. The constitution talks about Acholi. Because Acholi land is not just land, it is also our identity. When you trample on it because you have money, and you insult some of us, we will not keep quiet. It is wrong.
How do we resolve it, Professor?
Those who are selling land to the Balaalo, they are just merely being selfish. Wait.
Okay.
And they don't see the larger picture. Let me ask you, because of the context of the Balaalo, why were they not buying land in the 60s in Acholi? Why? In the 70s, why? Why were they not there? In the 80s, why were they not there? In the 90s, why were they not there? That they buy land now.
Population wasn't growing?
Is it about population? So ours didn't grow. You see, this thing is more fundamental than about
ours. When you say ours, what do you mean? Who is
we
us?
actually. You
So,
told
so it's a tribal issue.
No, I'm an Acholi. You cannot take that away from me.
So, but
Okay.
So why shouldn't I
So
talk?
you are saying that the Acholis who are selling, you, Latigo, should have authority to stop them from selling.
No.
Hey.
Didn't I say I bought land?
Okay, so why don't you want Balaalo also to buy?
Oh, why do let me tell you today.
We want to hear you.
The entry of the Balaalo in Acholi, the way they are entering, is insulting to many of us. Because you enter there because somebody can no longer cultivate his land. He's talking about neighboring Andrew Adimola. In the 60s, Adimola had a groundnut combine harvester on his farm. That neighbors him. Where's the farm?
So the way they
Wait, let me talk. Let me talk. No, let me talk. If you went to Nwaya, next to the home of Ogenga Latigo, Wilson Lutara had the best red pole herd in East Africa on his farm. In my own place, we had a dairy farmer with Frisian animals. All those went with the war. When we see cattle, it reminds us of the animals that we lost, of the prosperity that we lost, of the pain that we went through. That matter has not been resolved.
So the solution is to block people from buying land, or ask the government to stop you?
Please, let us first have, I told you the process when the president went, when the daughter had a mission, Pentecostal mission in
Maurice,
Hulu.
you have really disappointed me.
Oh yes, oh yes.
You have really disappointed me.
Don't worry.
For a great man like you.
No, let me finish.
No,
let me finish. Let me tell you. The president went there and conveyed regrets. We embraced that process. If we completed the process and that COP which is in Ubo and Adunu are out, we will live very normal lives. It is not yet time to live a normal life.
So what you're saying, Professor, is that the fundamental of resolving the issues of the heart,
yes,
what happened in the past,
yes,
needs to be resolved,
yes,
for us to be able to look at the future.
Yes.
No. He's saying
no, I'm here. Don't interpret for me.
But this is
I'm here.
Insinuation. He's saying that instead of asking the government to restock cows there, to support, they have had so many programs. He's saying that Balaalo should be, he's supporting eviction. Balaalo, who actually spent money, they sold, many Balaalo sold land in Western Uganda, sold all their belongings, went to Acholi, spent their life savings, and bought, because there was large land there to raise their cows. Not free land. There was larger, cheaper land there. They bought the land. Now they should be dispossessed back to zero, impoverished, because he feels that there must be, can I tell, even if I was share your sentiment, you should ask the government of Uganda to restock Acholis who lost their cows.
No,
Yes, but you cannot say that it should be possessive.
Okay.
Let me ask
please.
you the final question, guys.
Now, Andrew has taken. I thought I was still on the.
8.5% of land is owned by Acholi in Acholi.
Okay.
Why doesn't he think that 98% should be farmed? Why is it
Andrew,
focused on the 1.5%?
Listen, Andrew.
Okay. Yes.
Let me tell you.
I give up.
Let me tell you. Aswa and Acholi Ranch. Go and see who are there. And how many of them have been, people said, you evict them.
For us, we are saying they should be the first
So,
target.
Professor,
Please.
Professor, what I hear you saying is that the issues of the lung and the heart,
Yes.
until they are solved,
Yes.
we cannot move forward.
Let me tell you, they can stay there. If, for example, today something happens to President Museveni, those people will be slaughtered, I'm telling you.
When you say to them,
No.
Okay. How?
So until we have a foundation of acceptance of one another, of honesty, and when we see you with money, we don't become your slave of money. Until we have that, if you selfish guys will defend them and claim they sold their land, and I can guarantee you, I know the prominent families in that area who own land.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
he is
And
inciting.
My
Professor doesn't know.
Okay.
What he's doing, him and Omona and Museveni may not realize that they're inciting also Baganda to begin evicting him
And that's what
him.
Andrew, that's what I asked you on state formation, and you didn't give me an answer.
But I've told you. He's inciting Batoro to demand eviction of Bachiga.
Excuse me.
Yes.
He's inciting Bachiga to evict Banyarwanda.
Yes.
He's inciting Basania to evict
Andrew.
Bateso and Japadola.
Okay.
You are creating a very, very serious crisis.
You cannot intimidate me
Yes.
on that, Andrew.
Kennedy, hold on. Yes.
Look, this is a memorandum that we sent to President Museveni in May 2014. This is about oil.
The one you told us about in
Yes,
Noya.
this memorandum we sent to the president in 2014. 70% of Uganda's oil is in Acholi. Nobody wants to talk about oil in Acholi.
Okay.
No single benefit. And you want us to just laugh? My daughter.
This is tribal politics. I'm asking
Wait,
you.
let me.
So, are you allowed to buy land in Acholi?
No. Let me. Please, you are not. You are not the moderator. Let me say something. You are a recently recruited people. My daughter was working there. Even I had to confront a Commissioner General, and you know. When the short list of people to be interviewed came, my daughter was not there. And yet, last year, for 6 months, she was employee of the month that she failed the aptitude test. When COVID was there, she wrote 3 children's books. She did masters in petroleum management with Hussein Kasilingi. Up to now, she doesn't have a job.
How is this related to this debate?
Okay, thank you. Let me come to Honorable Kennedy. I'm going to come to you after the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Can I ask a question on your behalf? I want to ask Kenneth Mwenda. Are you allowed to buy land in Acholi? For all
Yes.
issues you have raised?
I will answer together with what he's going to ask me.
Honorable Minister, you can feel the temperature and the sentiments of this whole issue. Every angle is very sensitive. When it comes to land, it's sensitive. When it comes to the ethnicity, it's sensitive. How do you delicately balance that you have an amicable solution and compensation? Because you've already asked the people to leave. I saw truckloads leaving when I was leaving Gulu on Sunday. Truckloads left on Saturday when I was there. How do you balance this so that we don't have a country imploding on itself?
I want to thank you very much, Timothy. First of all, me, somebody who works in that region, recently had I toured the region, these 3 sub-regions in the north. I went to Lango, I went to Acholi, I went to West Nile. And I had regional barazas in the open, covered by media, I'm sure.
Yes.
You were also there. This is how they speak. Have you seen the spirit
Yes.
and the anger?
Yeah.
the professor used
Yeah.
here. This is what I saw there.
It is just his anger.
I am-
Not the
I
people
am-
of
I
Acholi are
am-
not like that.
I was there as a minister, working as a minister, as a Nyampara, listening to the people. And the sentiments are like this. Timothy, this is what I can say. Uganda are many nations brought together to form a country. You have Central here with this own culture and customs, people in the north, in the east, and so on, trying to forge a way of living together. It will only work when each of these respect the way of life and rights of others. And this is the spirit and letter of the president's executive order. Did you read it, Timothy?
Yes, I did. It's
You
right
read
here.
it. I will employ you to read again, and I implore all these colleagues here, Kennedy, Mwenda, to read it. In fact, this is what the president says here. The president does not condemn a tribe. No. The president condemns behavior of a certain people. In fact, in the president's executive order, even highlights that we are getting problems with the Federation of East African Community, because there are some of these member communities who now fear that when you completely federate, there's going to be this rural influx of other people to take over our land. This is happening. Do you also know that not long ago President Magufuli massively evicted people from Tanzania? Do you know about it?
That was Chikwete.
Chikwete?
Jakaya
Yes.
Chikwete.
No, sorry, not Magufuli. May his soul rest in peace. President Chikwete.
11,000.
Very good. Do you also know that violent eviction, forceful eviction, happened in Bunyoro? When that time
14 years ago.
About how many years ago?
14 years ago.
Very good. When there was now information that I think there's some oil here, people that said, but these people have just invaded us here. We hear that there's oil here. Tomorrow when they're paying royalties, to whom will they pay it? That operation was overseen by General Tinyafunza.
Yeah.
Nobody raised the sentiment of tribalism. And this is what I want to say, please, let this not be an angle, looking for a narrative to want
To silence us.
To silence
No way.
people who are complaining and then guilt trap them. Like you're saying that, can they buy land in Buganda here? I have just asked you, have you ever heard that there's a certain group of people called either Northerners or Acholis who have hurting population and people are complaining about them? Have you heard about them? And should it happen, I can assure you, government will take action. So how do you solve this, like you've said? One, I want to implore that all Ugandans must learn to live together. I have just told you actually that I have learned recently that the Northerners are the most warm and welcoming people. But like Professor said, there are people who are still traumatized by war. And I think this is the president's intention, to protect the people there so that they begin to appreciate their post-war situation, recover
Economically very vulnerable.
For instance, let me tell you, it's been said here, we have talked about all these conditions, but the main thing, let me tell you, the main thing, Timothy, is about land. And now this is the thing. Like Kennedy also tried to talk about it, but he goes away from the strategy. I don't know where he gets it from. Let me tell you, we have gone to these communities, and if I gathered people in this sub-county, he may not tell you what he's telling you here. I'm
He
telling you
will
the
not.
truth. And I'll invite you. I'll go there. I want to invite them and let the people speak freely. And I'll invite you.
You
And
invite me as well.
Yes. And wait. And I want wait. Yes. So what I'm saying is, the president mentioned here that he wants an environment where there is no commotion, no chaos like it is now.
Yeah.
And I also say that the way you are seen, and I think Professor says it, failure of integration and assimilation.
Yeah.
Timothy, in an area in Africa here, where we live in an area where there's us and them, that is very wrong. It's not nice.
Okay.
Why? No, let me bring the point.
Integrated here in Buganda.
No. I have no problem with neighbors. The issue is, Timothy, like you said,
Completely.
land ownership, land rights in Acholi are very different, are also unique. Much of the land in Acholi are communal, and the president makes it clear here. You cannot call yourself a land owner and you are not a clan leader, or you are not a member of the family, call yourself clan leader. The land there is owned communally. Whether it is a primitive, it is their way of life. We can improve on that. Now what happens there, which is going to bring a lot of conflicts, that there are some land, that different types of lands there which have not been used. One, for instance, I'm talking about Acholi. I cannot talk about West Nile. For instance, Acholi, there's what called Timdwa, vast land nobody there. They just use it for hunting, collecting firewood, and so on and so forth. And it's owned by a clan. As the population increases, they go migrating, push into it. Now there are some of those lands now that have been sold off. A few, 1 or 2, 3 people who were elites collect and sell their land without consulting
Even
the
not
community.
elites, the crooks.
And he said it, he said it, and he
They are
said
crooks,
he
they are
said it
crooks.
there.
They are
He said it
crooks.
there. Listen, he
Wait
said
till
there
it's- they are crooks.
they sell conflicted land,
Okay.
and they sold it to a powerful person because they know that they pass it like a hot potato, so that whoever buys it now takes charge with authority and so on. And this is where the problem is, Timothy. And there are very, very many.
Okay.
Each of land. That's why the president says, and indeed, I don't want anybody to be deceived in the north. The president is not evicting anybody. The president is talking about evicting livestock. Please, Kennedy, don't misrepresent the president and don't misrepresent what we say. He's evicting the animals because the conflict is originating from there. After that, the president is going to appoint a committee for verification. And this time, by the way, we want the verification to be done both technically and also
Communal.
in the public.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that this is sorted. And when this is all sorted, once you bought land well and the entire clan have said, we have given out this land to this
Yeah.
clan, it's called Timothy,
Yeah.
you will be welcomed.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be conflict. We do not want.
Will I return my cows?
Yes. We will not
At
want.
what cost?
We don't
Don't
if
talk
there's any
about
cost,
cost.
no,
We
don't
are
worry.
trying
By
to
the way,
solve a
Timothy,
problem, my
I
friend.
don't want this thing to
cannot
be.
solve a
I don't want
problem
anybody to
by-
get
If you
worried.
are sick,
Hold on.
If there are
Gentlemen, let the
any, if there are
minister
any
finish.
costs, if there are any costs that warrant attending to, it is the action of government, and
Yes.
the government will attend to it.
Thank
And
you,
there's no
Honorable
worry
Minister.
about
Can-
that.
Kennedy, let me come to you.
Yes. Minister,
How do we
asked me-
solve this problem moving forward?
Minister asked me some questions
Yes.
to substantiate how the whole thing can be a tribal sentiment. If, Honorable Minister, with due respect, if this thing is not done logically, using a well-defined parameter, that is by mean of verification, people will doubt your action.
But we are going to do it. I've just told you.
But
Just we are
Kennedy,
going
I'm
to do.
saying-
Honorable Minister,
This
I'll respond on your behalf.
verification should
Kennedy,
not be post, it should be pre-eviction.
Kennedy, the
Yes.
minister has said, and even in the executive order,
You
the
are not the
president
pre-
was
you-
clear. Eviction
he is not the
of
president.
people.
The president
The
has
eviction
already
is for
issued.
livestock. So the livestock goes,
Go.
Timothy stays on Kennedy's land. After that, a committee is appointed. A law is instituted by the Attorney General.
Yeah.
So the committee does the verification, both technical and also with the community.
Yes.
So Timothy is staying. It is his livestock that is going.
Okay.
So how do we, where is your challenge on this when he was talking about ethnicity?
Yeah, Timothy, you see, sometimes we are tempted to think that we listen to all the sentiment in the community more than others. You see, for me, I live most of my time in the community doing my groundwork in terms of what I do. There are people who are already misled by the minister's evictions. That once
They're the
Balaalo are
president's
evicted,
evictions. They're not the
I
ministers.
have never ordered any eviction. The
They're
eviction
not his.
is the order of
They're
the president.
the president's.
yeah,
not Omona.
is the person going to execute it? So
Yes.
he cannot differentiate.
In fact, it is the military executing.
Let's be clear. The
Yeah.
executive
Very clear.
orders
No,
are
no,
from
no.
The
the
He's
president.
minister has no power to
No.
do that, my
Please,
friend.
I have no power.
Okay,
Please.
He's going
gentlemen,
to
let him
witness
finish.
here. He's
Yes.
going to superintend over it.
No, but
And,
don't-
It's actually the
You can't
UPDF
get it very clear.
superintending.
yeah, but also under his guidance as a minister for Northern Uganda, I know at one point you will report.
He is
to
doing
the
his job. You don't know his job.
Exactly.
Please.
Okay.
Exactly.
So don't
Professor-
assume. Please.
Professor,
Okay.
Professor, I
It
did
is-
not interrupt you.
No,
Kennedy,
it
continue.
is.
I am happy
It is annoying.
that in the process of giving his statement, he concurred with me that it is the elite who are buying land in
No,
Acholi.
no, 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 no,
Which
no,
is
no,
still
no.
true.
He
No, no,
said,
no,
the
no, no.
minister
Up to
said
now,
the
no.
elite are conniving.
Some
to
people,
sell those
not
hunting
necessarily
areas.
elite.
Who are the
Because you are not,
elite?
you, are, you
Yes.
may not be an elite. Maybe I don't.
Have I sold land to?
He's
I'm
an
an elite. Have I sold land?
I'm saying
not
some
referring
people.
to you because
Okay.
I'm
this
saying some
mean
people.
the elite. That
Some
is the
people,
same
no.
thing I referred to.
I'm saying
that
some people.
elite.
I'm not saying elite,
Okay.
please. I'm saying some people.
Yes.
Don't misquote me.
But
I'm
guys,
an
so
elite.
Is-
let me come in.
Kennedy,
No.
I want to
Let me
ask
come
your
in.
friends
Let me come
here.
in. So,
First of all, these people are not challenging so the transactions of selling land. They are, I have identified one group called Balaalo not to buy land because the Indians buying land there. There are white people buying land. These Acholis themselves, elites, are buying land in Acholi. So this is not the issue about land ownership and land transaction. They have identified a particular ethnic group of people called Balaalo. And they are saying this people should not buy land. Let me tell you, I can never go
that's wrong.
Okay.
No,
so you why
that
don't we buy you from
that
land in
discussion-
Warrior?
that
Gentlemen, my time.
Gentlemen, come from
Andrew was done by
why
the
do you buy
president.
land in Warrior?
This is my
Kenneth
time.
and
This is my time. Listen
Andrew.
to me.
Kennedy's time.
Don't
Please
misrepresent
allow
us.
Kennedy
We ask
finish.
Kenneth a simple
to
question.
me.
He
Yes.
comes
Can
from
I answer?
Karamaido.
Listen to
He
me.
bought
Can
land
I
in
answer?
Warrior. Why
Listen
is he
to me.
allowed?
Can I answer?
This is my
You'll
time.
give your
This is my
response.
time.
Yes.
Yes.
Please, I'm saying this.
Yes.
The smooth eviction of the Balaalo must involve the people whom the Balaalo are occupying their land now.
Okay.
Should you underestimate them, that eviction will not be effective. Why?
How do you want them to be engaged?
The eviction is not also talking about if the Balaalo leave my land. I have been earning some income
Yes,
from it.
like
What
someone
will
said.
happen? Who is going to compensate the Balaalo whom I have picked the land like for us
he's,
we rent on a yearly
he's
basis?
just talking
Who's
about
going
his
to
income.
refund?
He's not
Yes,
talking
we-
about
we
the
have
bigger
to-
picture.
We have to be mindful because that is an agreement between us.
Okay.
Timothy, let me tell you, this issue is just being overblown for nothing. When you have an agreement between an individual and individual, does it involve government
He's talking
success
about
for you?
Chama Meti.
Because for
Chama
us,
Meti.
as the
Chamia.
landowners,
Chakula
we
ya
know
Chama.
that,
Gentlemen.
we
yes.
know that the people who are renting our land, if they fail to agree or do what exactly we are supposed to agree with them, we expel them easily like that. Now, why would the government come to evict my customer and doesn't tell me how I am going to survive?
I am
when
so
this
happy you are saying
customer
that,
has
yes.
gone? Some of these people who are talking, their children doesn't study in northern Uganda. Ask any of them.
I
And
wish
then
you
also,
read the president's executive proclamation. I doubt he
one
read
of
it.
the one of the fact is,
what the
if
president
you go to
narrated.
northern Uganda now, you will find the like of the ministers. They are the one having last chunk of land. If you ask Professor, how did you acquire your land in Inouye? Probably by that time he bought.
That is
he
a
will
blackmail.
check. Yes,
go back
yes,
to the
yes.
go back to the main.
Yes.
I no
That's
longer have
blackmail.
I no
Go
longer
back
have
to
land
the-
in Noya.
Yes.
Okay. That's blackmail.
Yes,
Go back
yes.
to the
No,
main
no,
issue.
I'm not blackmailing it. He said
I
he
no
acquired
longer
land
I
in
no
Inouye.
longer
By that
had
piece of
land.
land.
How he acquired by then, you'll find even an acre. Probably he could be paying like 200, 600.
But that was in the 70s.
not 70s.
During
This is
the
just
war.
During
During
this
the
war.
war.
Who was there to sell him the land
86?
anyway?
Okay. So
Not even 86.
let's get back to
From
the issue.
around 20.
You're
Let's
talking
get
about
back
the
to the
purchase
issue.
of land
Please.
and the valuation of land
Yes.
now. But the thing is that the minister was asking you was the ethnicity within this contention of the Balaalo and the
Where
squatters.
does it arise from?
You've made it clear that the compensation, you're asking questions about compensation. Who will compensate me who has bought land from you, Kennedy,
Okay.
when I have left? That is the question you've asked. Because the transaction was between me and you.
And you,
Okay?
yeah, yeah.
And you
And
can
you're
answer.
asking, and it was also beneficial economically to you.
We can
Yes.
answer.
Answer the ethnic question that he asked you.
Yes, that is why I was trying to bring that in. The moment you don't evict this Balaalo on a clear terms, like it, because for me, I'm still emphasizing that eviction must be done after verification. Why? Verification will tell Mr. Mwenda, who is a tenant to Kennedy, has not complied. He doesn't have a permanent water source. He has not spent his land. He has been beating people. There are this police case against him. Then let him go. Even Mwenda will not have the audacity even to claim any money that he could have paid me, because
Okay.
you know that these are my fault. Why
Kennedy's
I'm
point
living?
is,
Why are you
obvious,
pushing
Kennedy.
someone to
You-
leave?
you are
without
saying-
telling them
Okay,
yes?
You evict me
Gentlemen.
without verification?
You have to-
Gentlemen,
This eviction
Kennedy,
verification
let me come
will
back
act
to you.
like a
Okay, why
report
you not
card.
evicting
Someone
white
will know,
people?
because for me,
And-
my English teacher
and
taught
Indians
me
who have
that
bought land there.
the opposite of indiscipline is discipline. Much as the presidential executive order talk of the indisciplined Balaalo, they are also the disciplined Balaalo. This is
Okay.
a fact that we have
But
to
and
admit.
there in disciplined Acholis?
okay.
In,
Someone- you can
in
ask
fact,
them.
Andrew,
I ask this question. Let me ask you, Timothy. Aren't there Acholis who graze cows and they kuonesa other people's crops?
Can I answer that one?
Why do
Let
you
me-
identify
okay,
only
good.
Balaalo?
Gentlemen,
Can I answer that one?
Gentlemen,
Can I answer that one? Very
Honorable
good
Minister,
question. Very good
hold on,
question.
hold on. Kennedy, your 2 minutes, your parting shots. I'll come to Andrew. Professor,
My parting
lastly,
shot
the
is
minister.
like this, Timothy. Any eviction that is done without verification is going to bring more problem than it is now. Two, the
I agree.
issues of land questions in Acholi land will not be solved by the Balaalo eviction. If the president wants to correct the mess in the land transaction in Acholi land, I would even request him to issue a directive, another executive order, cancelling all the land transactions from the time people return from camps up to now. And you will see the people who will be pleading, running to State House to beg him, because the affected will be the real elites that I have been talking.
Okay.
You will see them in the open running that president don't implement your executive,
Lastly,
because it will affect the real grabbers of land in Acholi land and the real people who manipulated the land sale in Acholi land. So
Okay,
let us
you.
not hide under, in daytime we pretend to be very good, but even down there we are not. If you investigate all of us who comes from Acholi land, you will find either way we have some mistake we have made. So I have accepted that the landowners, we have made some mistake, government has made some mistake, our leaders have made some mistake. We should not make more mistake. Let this verification be paused, the eviction be paused, the verification come first, such that whoever is living live on a clean sheet, know that I am going because it was my fault. I have never fines, I have never put permanent source of water. I have
Kennedy,
not
allow me
been
to
with
get
the
to
community
Andrew.
well.
Thank you very
As
much.
the landowners, we are
have
not against the presidential executive order.
Thank you. You have spoken and told us what needs to be done is the verification before the eviction.
Yes.
Andrew, your 2 minutes.
Actually, may I go beyond Kennedy? Kennedy, I think he's very much, his position is much more reasonable. These people should buy it. In fact, my position is this.
That's what we are not.
Why
agents.
should the demand be?
We are not agents. We are
let me
leaders
show,
of the
mine
people.
is even more extreme than his. Why does the government of Uganda demand that a particular identity group called Balaalo should be the ones, to have fenced their land, to have a source of water in their land? It should be everybody who grazes cows in Acholi should have that. You cannot make a law to only deal with one group, one identity group. You are what I'm saying. I disagree with you on it. Why is it only Balaalo required to meet these 4 conditions? If my grandson Kenneth Mwenda here, my other grandson, his cousin Latigo Morris, if they have cows, why are they not subjected to the same standard? How can the president issue a directive or government of Uganda pass a law which requires that the law can only be applied to one ethnic group?
Okay.
That the only the Batoro should raid borders on the left. Everybody else is, this is outrageous. I can never accept it.
Professor Ogenga Latigo, your parting shots.
Professor doesn't want to speak.
I'll
speak on his behalf.
I know for Andrew I have no problem, but
You can't have a problem with your grandfather.
I get this guy claiming to be landowners association. They are not being asked to refund the money or anything. And first of all, when we say this, we are conscious of what happened in this country before. When under President Museveni something happens, that people only have no power to stop it. When President Museveni leaves, they will have power to deal with that thing. I don't want a situation where the Balaalo go by the strength of their money to settle in Acholi. I want them to come by relationship. I can tell you the Minister for Local Government farms in Nwaya. Why hasn't he been chased? Because he's doing the same farming like any of us. He went there not because he had money, but he had friends. This is not the case. And then when you, all of a sudden, there's a massive inflow. Let me tell you, Ugandans, for us in Acholi, and because I speak the truth, the matter which is in the lung and in the earth, if it is not removed, those who are telling you it is okay, they are deceiving you. When the time comes, those matters will come out and the country will suffer. I don't want the country to suffer. I want it to be resolved so that we move on as one people.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, lastly.
Thank you very much, Timothy, and I want to thank my panelists here, and I want to thank those who have spent their time, their night listening to us and watching us. First of all, I want to say this, and let me look at and say this in the camera. Uganda belongs to all of us. And there is nothing tribal about this exercise. It's about a behavior of a group of people who want to undermine others and cause disunity and make people think that others probably hate us or hate them. This is very wrong. And I really want to totally reject this narrative from Andrew Mwenda and my brother there. There's nothing tribal about this. Balaalo were chased from Tanzania. It wasn't tribal. Balaalo were chased and actually violently from Bunyoro. Nobody said it was tribal. So why are you now twisting the narrative to want to blackmail, guilt trap people from North to say this tribe? This is not tribal. Secondly, this is what I want to say. I want to thank President Museveni for his great wisdom. To be honest, to be very, very honest, sometimes Museveni's wisdom is very rare.
It's not understood quickly.
Not very understood quickly. But as well, very, very wise old man. He has foreseen the future, and he makes it there, said, we don't want to make these mistakes, because the way I see, I think coexistence is not happening. Now let me ask you as I wind up, Timothy, when you're a visitor in an area, you and the host, who should learn the ways of the other?
The visitor.
If you are a visitor who wants the host to learn yours, then it is what the president calls colonial style of unfairness, which can never be allowed under the national resistance movement, which is a liberation movement that must unite this country. This country must unite, but not by interpreting the laws and principles selfishly, only in favor of others. We must all unite and be free and live with one another in the way that respects the way of life of other people.
Thank you.
And this is what we want. And I can tell you, by the way, in next few years, Acholi, West Nile and Lango will be one of the most sought after in terms of investment for socio-economic transformation. But we want to make it orderly.
Thank you.
We want to make it orderly.
Honorable
And
Minister,
the process the president proposes, we hope, is a good start for that.